Well, Clint, do we need to say anything else? That, the Rolling Thunder said it all.
No, good evening, Patrick. Good evening to the audience. No, personally, I'm still on a high from this weekend, right? It was what an experience! What an experience! Just the smell of racing fuel, and to be out at the track and just to hear those cars. Oh, it was amazing. Something else.
Yeah, it was a bit. Initially, everybody thought a bit anticlimactic in the sense that the international stars couldn't visit South Africa to participate in the 9 hour, but there was more than enough to satisfy anybody's hunger for motorsport this weekend. And the 9 hour turned into a great race. I think, as you just experienced yourself, a totally different mindset involved in endurance racing. Don't leave your brain in the pits like you do with a sprint race. You need to think on your feet all the time when it's a 9 hour, because things can and inevitably do go wrong. For some, it happened on the second lap of the race.
Yeah, that
For
was
others,
absolutely.
they very, very nearly didn't make it to the end of the race with the Ferrari because it was spitting out pieces coming into the pits at the end of the race. So,
Yeah.
and awesome to see off-roader Henk Lategan and his dad do a brilliant race, coming home third overall on debut. I think that's really put him in the mood for Dakar now.
Yeah, no, for sure. Look, before we go to the Dakar, I must say that when that Ferrari came past on the pit, when I was standing on the pit, when I just saw sparks and funny noises, what's his name, Gavin Cronier really used his head, right, to just to coast it around and to bring it home, and he had an excellent result. And it was unfortunate about the incident on the second lap. But then again, it also showed some good resilience from the different teams that managed to fix the cars, and get back out there and really show that it's not finished until the end, right? Um, but the most amazing part for me was standing inside of the pit, and that Lamborghini comes there in that what's the mode? Do I call it in pit mode? It sounds like that engine wants to, when it splutters like that, and it doesn't. The map is. It sounds like there's something wrong on the map, and it just goes down that pit like, oh, I can tell you, I still have hoendervlees. Hoendervlees.
And a regular guest on the show, Nick Adcock, had a race, a bit of a disaster. He got taken out in that second lap incident, and the Leisure sustained some damage. But as you just said, they didn't give up. They got back into the
Yeah,
pits, and about an hour later, they were back out there and eventually finished 14th overall. So a great
yeah.
effort from their side, and
No,
still
for
second
sure.
in class.
No, for
But
sure. And
I'm,
was
I'm,
it
I'm a
was
little bit
amazing.
concerned tonight because the man behind you in the picture is supposed to be our guest tonight. And so far, we haven't been able to establish contact with Willie or Sue Hepburn tonight. Um, I did confirm earlier in the day, so we trust
Mm.
that he'll be joining us shortly. But of course, Willie, brilliant as usual.
Yeah,
79 years old, still capable of
amazing.
doing 1 minute 18s in that
That's
monster
crazy. That
in
is
that monster
crazy.
Opel of his. Awesome sight and sound. He literally blisters the paint every time he comes past the pits. The sound of that car is the stuff we grew up on, and really, there's just no comparison to anything else. You don't have to be crazy about VH to appreciate that.
Yeah, no, there's nothing like a V8 down a pit lane, eh? And oh well, pit straight at least. What
Well,
I also found,
credit
sorry,
to
yeah,
Rudolf de Vos as well. He was equal to the task in his little Chev. Fantastic race on his side as well. For some reason, Willie didn't make the pit entrance in time for Heat 2 and had to start at the back of the grid. So they ended up with one race win each. And, well, we enjoyed the spectacle of seeing these two V8s going taps around Kalani.
but talking about V8s, Patrick, something I must highlight: those little minis. Oh my word! I never knew a mini can blitz that track so fast. Eh?
Dion,
I'm still wondering what's in that thing. Eh?
well, I had a chat with Dion Valentine during the week.
Yeah.
He's just got a 1380cc motor in it. It looks like it's about a 3 liter, by the way, but it circulates
Sure.
Kalani. It was giving Jaco Lambert a hard time from the word go.
Definitely.
So an incredible race by the minis, but that is what makes these classic car races so fantastic. It doesn't have to be a Ferrari at the front of the field.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at the stopwatch when these guys are on the track. And it's the tussles that develop between very, very varied vehicles that make these races very interesting.
Yeah.
You had Ernest Lead with his Fiat 128 Rally,
Yeah.
a screamer of note, really taking it to these guys. You had 4-door Skylines, 2-door Skylines, Jetta
That was
Mark
beautiful.
1s, a variety of minis which included the Pitco, the Pitco Quickie of Dr. Greg Mills.
Yeah.
And if anybody must be tired after this weekend, it must be Dr. Greg Mills.
Exactly.
Because Team Africa Le Mans had about 20 cars present at the track. And
I stopped counting and how many cars is it?
We just had Angelo Masiglia commenting here. I think he's still in need of some sleep because this poor man and Jeff Mortimer was fixing cars until heaven knows what time of the night, only to have them break as quickly as they fix them. That's the disadvantage of the disappointing side of classic cars. They are old. They have been in storage for a long time. They need a lot of tender love and care to keep them going. And unfortunately, they break unexpectedly. Jeff Mortimer was down to drive the Frank Jelinski Mako Formula 3. That ran perfectly, except it wouldn't have a clutch. The clutch before he could take it out on the track. Then he took out the Jan Lammers Hawk DL17 Formula Ford, and that decided to have a serious vibration, and he couldn't race that. Then he got into the Lenham Sprite, and that had serious fumes in the cockpit, which really disoriented him, so he couldn't race that either. Then he sat, at least in the Sarna Buick, a monster of a Formula 5000, but that wasn't a happy car either. Dr. Greg Mills only taking that out for one heat. So Jeff had lots of cars to work on, lots of cars to play with, but the only one he actually ended up driving was the Jetanetta GT4 in the endurance race, where they managed to win the class and finish 12th overall with Dr. Greg Mills driving with him. So yeah, hats off to Team Africa Le Mans, Gunter Trotsky, and these guys behind the scenes. Angelo, if you're still there, really credit to you guys for putting in a sterling effort. Sorry that the cars didn't all run as planned, but we do appreciate that they are old and in need of some work before next year's event. But I'm sure you guys will be starting early and get all of that sorted out. The other Janetta, with Sarel van der Merwe, Henny Groenewald, and Jackie Schechter, that finished up 4th overall, I think it was. A very good result there, going up against the more modern Lamborghinis. The Lategans finished 3rd, and a very sick Ferrari in the 2nd place.
Yeah.
But the early incident, possibly a bit of a spoiler. Stuart White certainly posted the fastest lap time, looked like a potential winner there. But the gearbox greeted on his Lamborghini. So that's motorsport. It happens. I'm a little getting really concerned now. So Byron, if you could take me off air, I'm going to try and find us our guest, and I'm going to leave Clint to have a general chat of the weekend's racing and take us into the preparations for Dakar. And I'm going to see if I can find our guest quickly. So.
Hi, Byron. So compliments to you and the team also. Compliments to you and the team that has done the commentating on the past weekend's racing. It was really sterling. I managed to watch on both on YouTube, and then I was fortunate enough to go there to view it in person. So yeah, hats off. How was your experience?
It was a great experience. You know, it was my first time commentating the Killarney 9 Hour. I didn't do the last year's one. There was only 2 commentators last year, Greg Maloney and Francois Butler. But we had a full team of us, myself, Frankie Innes, Gary Fleming also joined Greg Maloney and Francois Butler. And I think what happens is had a lot of fun covering it the whole race weekend, because what happens is I always love to see cars coming down as well that you don't see every day.
Yeah.
What happens is, you see in main circuit racing events, you see your general cars and things like that come along, but every so often something will come along that is just very different than what you've seen, and that always makes the weekend for me. It's unfortunate though that a number of cars ended up having to pull out. Like for instance, the Formula 3000 car that had to pull out because it first stalled on the grid and then was struck by a Formula V. So there was only not even a full heat was completed by that car, and McClellan, of course, was the man who was behind the wheel of that Lola, the 8650. And then what happens is, so of course, like Patrick said, the Frank Jelinski Formula 3 sat in the pits the whole weekend, which is a real shame. And then I know Henny Groenewald was taking around the 813 March, which also I think only did part of a race and then that's it. So we had a few cars over there that just didn't make it, and it's really a bit of a sad one because you look so forward to it. But all in all, I think there was a lot that made up for it. I'm with you on the minis as well. They might
those little minis. I was so amazed.
Small minis going on up against the big V8s and things like that. I always go on about how it used to be in British touring cars. You'd have the little minis versus the big Mustangs and so on, and then on the straight the Mustangs would just have the muscle and the power, but under braking the Mini could brake later, they could turn very nicely, and so even it out at the end of the day, and that's what you want to see in racing. You don't want to see cars run off the front and a spread out feel. You want to see nose to tail action all the way around the lap, and that's the beauty of sprint racing. So you have the beauty of sprint racing on the weekend, and then you also have the endurance, which, of course, like Patrick was saying off air, is a completely different style and completely different way of running, because now you're talking about pit stops, talking about strategy, you're crossing your fingers and toes that you don't tax the car too much towards the end. So there you have it.
The one thing that I came to realize after I basically came back from the track and I sat down and reflected, right, is that we actually have international caliber drivers in South Africa, in Cape Town, and it's taking part of international global racing. Maybe it's my first time that I've been exposed to it. It was the first time that I came to this realization, is that we actually have them in and around us. So I think we're very fortunate. We're also very fortunate to be able to take a stroll down the pit. I could take my kid and show him the cars, and he could experience it, right? Overseas, you distant away from it. The security, there's protocols, all these kind of good things. Of course, there must be safety measures also. So I fully agree with that. But I really appreciate this weekend and the amount of people that you could meet up and interact with, and I've learned such a lot. So I think this weekend, if whoever didn't make it to the tracks, unfortunately, but definitely you need to go next year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I know this year we were supposed to have Jan Lammers returning, and he couldn't make it, unfortunately. Michele Pirro was actually a former Grand Prix driver, former touring car driver. Michele Pirro, the Italian, he was supposed to come as well. That unfortunately didn't materialize. But one thing I know, and I've always heard of a lot of the overseas guys, they love coming to South Africa because over here they're actually free to do so much more. Where in Europe, like you're saying, everything is very restricted. Everything has got a lot of, it's very politically correct at the best of times. And the procedures. Then they come down here and it's like, going alpha leather and just driving. That's what they want to do, rather than doing a whole other thing. So yeah, hopefully in the next year and the years afterwards. I know COVID's going to be here for a while. I know I hate mentioning it, but it'll be great to have them back and have the cars coming in as well and everything.
Yeah, but look, COVID we have to live with now, right? And there was a gentleman that I met there, Cole Paulson. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a gentleman that took the Citroen up Simona Hill climb. and he was this weekend at the track also, and he comes all the way from the States to come and race. And we were chatting, and he was saying to me that he does Pikes Peak, and he will come back to do even more races. So, you know, with all the racing that's happening, where there's a will, there's a way, they say, right? So I think it's about managing it and ensuring that obviously the borders is open also. So definitely
Well, that
look
little,
at it.
how often do we see Citroens racing here at in Killarney? I think we had the Citroen Zara in the Thunder cars not too long ago, which is something we don't see every day. But the little
And that's
12,
the one you
14
raced there.
and he apparently is very, very good in pursuit races up country in that particular motor car. It's you know, you don't get a lot of those around, and you know, there is a bit of a following for Citroens as well. You know, some of the old ones, the old DS with the hydro pneumatic suspension as well.
Yeah.
Haven't seen one of those at Killarney yet in my time, but it would be something as well. And you know, there's so many just to name as well. You know, the Can-Am Chevy with a
that thing was
lovely
beautiful. Eh?
breaker on the front that makes the car look very daunting. I love that. That to me, you know, at the end of the day, he had a bit of a go at Willie as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they had a jewel, but no, hats off to the organizers at Killarney and to all the competitors and everybody that traveled from far and wide to put the event
I
together.
see. Sorry, Clint. I see that Patrick just notified me that Adrian Newey was on the guest list for Killarney as well. But the thing is, that would have clashed, I think, with a very important matter. Of course, far away in Abu Dhabi, which of course occurred over the weekend. It'd be awesome to actually have Adrian Newey along as well. A man who's designed not only in Formula One but in sports cars. He many years ago with the Marches, you name it, McLaren, Williams, Red Bull. That would be something to have at Killarney.
Yeah, no, and like on the previous show, he's actually a resident in Cape Town, so how privileged we are. Eh?
Hi guys.
Patrick.
Clint, it's not a good time of the year as far as dates and times are concerned. We changed our initial agreement with the Hepburns for the 22nd, and then this evening became available, and somewhere along the line the communication dropped us again. But Sue has just given me the assurance she is getting the laptop ready, and they'll be joining us shortly. So the good news is we can have a part A and a part B with the Hepburns. Tonight we can start with half his cars because there's so many of them in any case, and then we can hopefully coax Willie back again for next week to finish off the other half of his collection of motor cars in the background.
Okay,
So,
okay, no, that's a deal.
But in the meantime, yeah, you guys have touched on some interesting subjects, not least of all the little sensitive issue of a Grand Prix going a bit funny this weekend.
Ooh, funny.
I think we're all still recovering from that one.
Yo.
But,
There's some people still wiping the tears.
There's still going to be big debates about the end result of this event. Yeah, let's leave that for another day.
You hope it doesn't go to the courts. And I think just one little thing I want to touch on over here. Remember, Formula One is a sport based on strategy as well as racing, on-track racing.
Yeah, but it should never be based on Hollywood.
Never. No, I agree with that. So
don't run a race for TV benefit. A rule is a rule.
Sometimes you think to yourself things could have been done a little bit better at times.
Yeah, let's not have that debate.
So everybody just be quiet.
I think it was a superb finish. It was unpredictable, unrealistic. It was racing. Like they said at the end, we're going car racing, right? So
and no. I'm all for a fair race, but they pulled the rug underneath. I'm the first one to say I would have loved to see Max win, but to pull the rug underneath Merck is not a fair way of doing it, to be honest. Yeah, you can say they had the opportunity to pit. They could have been on the same tires. But they planned the strategy according to what the rules at that time predicted. And
Yeah.
don't change your mind on rules. That I don't agree with either.
Yeah, and I see the commenting is flaring up now, so I think we got the interesting topic.
There we go. So Clinton Veray, he
But it,
says, fully agree, Patrick.
Yeah, there's going
My
to be a
mom,
long.
Linda,
The
Max was the
sad
better
reality
driver.
of we can't change it. That's now in bigger hands to sort this mess out. But I see already there's a statement that says that the race director will not communicate with team bosses next year, which I think would be a healthy state of affairs.
yeah,
Because there's too many people influencing one man who's under pressure already to make
no,
quick decisions. I
I don't
don't
want your
envy his
job, eh?
position. I think he had
No ways.
an incredibly difficult job to do, and he did the best he could. But on the same token, everybody there voted him into that position, so he's considered to be the right man for the job. So then give him the credit for making decisions to the
Yeah.
that he believes is in the best interest of the sport.
He had big shoes to fill. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely.
Charlie Whiting was a
Yeah.
hell of a race director, and sadly, of course, we lost him in 2019. But Michael Massey, man, he had big shoes to fill with that. And what happens is he had Red Bull and Mercedes just on his case, in the last few races. It's amazing.
And I believe that he's in a situation where he doesn't need Toto Wolff or Horner to scream in his ears from either side.
Yeah.
He knows what's cutting on the track like they do, and at the end of the day, he's forced to make some very, very difficult decisions there. So yes, but on the same token, it's great to see a new champion. It's great to see Max becoming the first Dutchman to win it, and certainly the way that Red Bull put Mercedes under pressure this year, amazing. For 7 years they simply had it all their own way, and suddenly this year they were made to feel very, very uncomfortable. So that's healthy for the sport. It's not healthy in any category of motorsport if a driver or team dominates completely. Even in the era of Michael Schumacher, I don't believe it was healthy to see Ferrari win everything and just never be threatened. You need more and more people to challenge for the lead, then you'll have interesting racing. And when you cannot predict the result when the race starts, then I think Formula One will regain its
healthy.
status in the world.
Yeah. No, for sure. And and like I said, that yes, there's rules in that, and I think to a certain extent they're abided by the rules, but also he ultimately has the he can make a decision, right? And he made a decision, let him race and iron it out. I see Angelo also commented to say that
Yes.
shit happens, and it's motorsport ultimately.
Now it's
And that's the one thing that motorsport teaches you. It teaches you how to deal with certain circumstances in life, right? Get over yourself and move on. So hopefully it won't be taken further and stuff like that. And we accept it, and we come back for a new season. They're really busy testing. So let's look at the positive. And now there's such a lot of racing and lots of things happening that I actually can't wait for 2022 now. It's just around the corner, and let's get moving.
Just going based on going off of Formula One now. Let's go back to South Africa, to Cape Town. I see Mike Nathan says over here, I was blessed to be at the tribute of Jeff Mortimer, hosted by Dr. Mills on Friday. Sarel, Willie, to other drivers. One thing is for sure, everybody wanted a new champion. Okay, so there's two different things over there. But let's go back to Cape Town. Jeff Mortimer. Correct me if I'm wrong. You talk about a man in his mid-80s now?
85. He's becoming. He was born in 1936, so that makes him 85. 65 years in local motorsport, and still racing cars. Now that to me
That's
is
amazing.
another astonishing achievement. I think Jeff would be the first one to say that he was always the backup guy. He was the technical guru in every team that he's involved in. And as such, I think he did a sterling job to take many people to championships, which he could have won if he made an effort to do so. But he was the oldest South African rally champion at age 50 in the Quattro. And well, look at Samola Hill Climb. He still takes 1,000 horsepower Mitsubishi and keeps the youngsters very young. So
On your toes.
absolutely. And I think that's what makes these guys special. They simply don't know how to give up. They're always there. They always carry on, and they always come back for more.
Yeah, but Patrick, why give up if you can do it? Why give up?
Absolutely.
You know, if you're still enjoying yourself, look at Willie Hepburn, you know, Uncle Willie, 79. He's one of the fastest 79-year-olds I've ever seen in my life.
Undoubtedly.
And what happens is if you enjoy doing it, and he doesn't look like he's going to be slowing down anytime soon as well. You know, I've seen many interviews of him. You know, he just looks forward to that next race. He still does a lot of his own work, everything on the car. He's the ultimate privateer in South African racing.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, guys.
So-
I'm sending them the link.
Okay,
Right.
Cool.
So I think they'll be back on air soon. So yeah, in the meantime, let's celebrate people like Jeff Mortimer, Sarel van der Merwe, 75 years old. I spoke to him a little while ago, and I said to him, well, the great thing about him becoming 75 years old is now he forgets that he ever said that he's going to retire. So he can keep on coming back and enjoy lots of motorsport still. And it's, once again, those are the guys that you look up to. The youngsters need a goal to go for, and they set that bar very high. So great to still have them around. On the same token, we had a 92-year-old driving a car around the circuit this weekend.
Yes.
Javold van
Hell yeah.
Bergen needs no introduction
Bergen.
in South African motorsport. The BMW 319 finally restored to perfection by Nick and Robert Middleman. And well, he wasn't aware of what was going to happen until he arrived at Killarney on Saturday morning. But we got him behind the wheel, and he did an honorary lap with Alderman J.P. Smith of Cape Town mayoral committee, joining him as navigator with Nick in the back seat. And I do believe, Byron, your voice on the PA system whilst he was travelling around the circuit. He didn't set any lap
Our
records.
voices. I
But
actually
it's
came down to actually come and watch to see everything going on over there, and it's great to see. I know we had him was it 2 years ago, Patrick Ewald
Yeah.
came 2019, but it's good to have him. You know, what happens is one of the the old hands as well, and he had a bit of help from Teddy as well, I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. But the man in good
Weeks
health
overall.
still for the four-time South African champion, the first South African rally champion, the only surviving Springbok rally driver. Under his hands, Nissan won 5 manufacturers' awards in South African rallying. A legend in his own right. And it's so nice to see these guys still willing to come down to the circuit, share their experiences, talk to the youngsters, and just generally still be part of the scene.
Here's a question again from Mike Nathan. We've got a few questions over here as well, Patrick. So, Patrick, who bought Ewald's Skyline GTR?
Man, initially it was Martin that bought it, but I believe it's now joined the big Nissan collection in the Free State. I can't remember where exactly. No,
Isn't
somewhere
it
in
East
the
Lo-
Free State. No, it's somewhere in the Free State. No, you're thinking about Martin and them with the Skylines in East London.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, there's another statement that makes good sense. Ben Morgan, certainly not far off. Willie, Sarel and Ben, it would be great to see them take each other on somewhere in the near future again. I know Ben still got his triple rotor Mazda from the manufacturer's era. Willie's got the Opel record still going. And I'm sure somebody will find something for Sarel to drive, even if it is the BDA Escort that he's got hiding away in Pretoria.
His yellow one, yeah. Exactly. Isn't Paul anymore?
No, he keeps it far from him because he says if it does come down, he's going to enjoy driving it, and that's not the intention. So Chaps, I'm hoping that we are soon going to be joined by the Hepburns. We've just sent them the link again, and then we'll have some serious V8s. Well, not just V8s. The car behind me is a very,
Yeah,
very
well, Boris Mine.
familiar-looking car in South African terms. But that was Willie Hepburn's racing car. That's how he started off. And yeah, if you look at the background, look at the Ewald starting off with a BMW 319, a 1936 model. He tweaked that quite nicely, and it turned into a formidable motorsport weapon. And what's quite amazing about it is now that the information's gone onto the social media, is all the responses of people remembering that little car, but never on the track. They all keep telling me about Ewald dicing everybody in Church Street in Pretoria with this car from robot to robot. So that's where this car seemingly made its mark initially. We'll hear from Willie whether he did similar things, because he was quite an old hand in drag racing as well.
The magnificent thing, Patrick, as well, is that a lot of the older generation of drivers all started racing in their road cars. And, you know, you don't see any roll cages in there. You know, you drove your car to the track, you raced for the day, and you drove home again at the end of the day. And it was a different era, a bygone era. Now, of course, it's all regulation. You know, overalls all regulation. There has to be roll cages, all kinds of safety features in a car. You know, 3-point harness at least. So it just shows you, hey, look at that Morris over there. That was a real genuine way to go racing in the old days.
Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to get our people on board here.
Yeah, that's fine. And yeah, James in the UK is also saying, what about Jürgen Zabenta? And of course, it's Peter Lindenberg, right?
He retired last month, Peter Lindenberg. He decided to hang up his helmet.
Yeah, but I think with a bit of persuasion, you know, he'll dust it off.
The sad reality is, guys, these guys are all moving on in years. We are moving on in years. And at the end of the day, the time has come for the new generation to step forward and take motorsport into the future. So, and there are great talent in South Africa. If you just look at how South Africans are doing internationally these days, you would never say that we're in tight economic times, and never mind the political element about it. But it's amazing to see how well our South African guys are doing in motorcycling, car racing, endurance racing. Everywhere you seem to find a South African popping up in every category that you look at. That's fantastic news. But it takes, well, as I say, no bucks, no buck Rogers. Motorsport has never been cheap. You need funding to get to the higher levels of the sport. And that's where I think the economy bites the hardest, because there's very few South African companies that can support our guys to go overseas into Europe based on the quality of the rand these days. So yes, we've got the talent. We just need to find a route for them to get to Europe and America and everywhere they need to be to make a success of it. Earlier you mentioned John Williams. He did brilliantly well in the Pirelli Young Drivers on the World Rally Championship. But ever since then, we haven't seen a South African reach that level again. So there's so much potential. We had World Rallycross coming to South Africa. Once again, we have good talent there. I think we do have the people capable of joining the upper ranks of World Rallycross, but it's expensive.
It is.
So yes, money will always be a problem, but hopefully, and I would like to believe that talent will always find a way through all the hardship to get to the top, and it would be great to see South Africans, more South Africans get involved.
Well, look, Patrick, just sorry there, Clint, just want to jump in there just to touch on the Volkswagen Polo Cup this weekend. We had some great racing in there, and of course, some great South African talents. Leighton Fourie winning the championship. Yuri Swart was gunning for it as well. He took 2 victories, but at the end of the day, I think Leighton just did enough for the championship. And remember, the Polo Cup, that's where a lot of your talent can go overseas. We talked about the Van der Lindens going over now, of course, in DTM, and who knows where Leighton and Yuri and all these guys could be in the next few years.
Yeah, another disappointment, of course, was the postponement of the Kyalami 9 hour. Well, for much the reason why we didn't see any international drivers at Killarney. But yeah.
Yeah, so there's one young talent in the Polo Cup that really stands out also, Jaden Els, right? So he's doing Polo Cup. He came second in the National Rally Championship. He tried his hand now, I think his first off-road event. He's a go-karting champion. So definitely, I think that's a youngster that we all need to be on the lookout for in the next few years. And like Mike is posting also tomorrow, talking about John Williams, there's a rallycross tomorrow at Killarney. I believe about 40 cars entered and a wide variety of drivers and different cars to spectate tomorrow. So whoever's got a bit of time on their hands, go and support the guys. It will be great fun to get out, have a braai, and keep safe at the track.
Yeah, no, I echo what Clint says over there as well. We have a number. I think Steve Humble was also entered for tomorrow. A number of big names there, like John Williams. My co-commentator, Francois Butler, will be in one of the Wayne Wilson Maxims. So you'll have some good fun over there throwing that big car around the rallycross circuit there at Killarney. And yeah, so unfortunately not this year a world rallycross, hopefully back in the future again, but our local rallycross boys and girls are still making a meal of it at Killarney.
Yeah, I think the whole Moodley family is going to be out there tomorrow also. So all the Moodley brothers each got the car and the father also, so that ought to be something special. Yeah, and there's a few, I won't say newer guys, but yeah, guys that's new to rallycross. I think Dexter Bruce, and then also Ernest Page will be there with the BMW as well.
Ernest Page, yes, one of our premier guests, man who does a lot of writing on motorcars and on driving. And it's always good to see Ernest Page back out on a racing circuit, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, he's always good fun, right? And the one thing about him also is I like to watch his blogs, I don't know, my son calls it vlogs. I don't even know the difference, but in any case, he brings it home, right, in terms of what is out there, in terms of the racing or the development, and also bring it to the streets of Cape Town, and people can associate with that. So I think that makes him really unique in what he does also.
Just want to sort out here, guys, the guest link. I understand that Sue Hepburn is having a few problems with the link, so I will be able to try and get that sorted, hopefully.
Okay, sorry guys, it looks like we are running into a bit of a technical issue. They seem to have a technical glitch from their side, not being able to connect. It's not load shedding, it's some other issue. So what I would like to suggest, and disappointing as it might sound, is let us postpone tonight's program. Let's call it a day, and we try again next week Wednesday, and we do it properly.
Okay.
Yeah, we do a public show, something like that, because it's unfortunate not having Uncle Willie tonight, but yeah, technical problems. We do have them, the beauty of being in broadcasting and on the internet. But the chat, gentlemen, was lovely. Thank you very much.
Did enjoy that myself. And like I said, we don't want to make a fool out of our program. Neither do we want to waste the Hepburn's time. So let's do it properly. We call it a night, and we do this again properly next week. Thank you, gents.
No, we apologize.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Good night.
Okay, thanks, guys. Sorry about that.